So I have this idea for kind of a fun way to think about writing the math exploration. So this video is called Math Exploration, A Guide to Being a Math Explorer. In this video, I'm going to be talking about sort of the process of writing your Math IA, and I want to discuss that sort of through the lens of being a math explorer. So the first thing I want to do is sort of talk about like what's in your backpack, right? So what is the Math Explorer's backpack? You're going to need a few things if you want to be a successful explorer. So first is you need a sense of adventure and curiosity. You don't go on adventures if you're not adventurous or curious, and so we need you to tap into whatever that you have. You're going to need resiliency for dealing with setbacks in the process. Things are going to go wrong. That's literally a part of the process. And so being resilient and being ready for that is important. Third, and this is a physical thing, I would recommend that you get a small composition book for noting your discoveries and your thoughts. Every explorer needs an explorer journal. Trying to channel all of my creative energy into this one here. Last, having a calculator or a computer for helping you with complicated calculations is a really valuable thing. But I'm recommending that you really keep track of what you're doing and learning in this journal. I think having it on paper and being able to like scratch through things is important. So the next thing, using this adventure journal, like how should you set this thing up? So first, you should reserve the first 1 or 2 pages for your aim. Now your aim is only a sentence or too long. Like why do you need multiple pages? And the reason is your aim is going to change as your exploration goes on. It'll shift a little bit. You'll want to change some words around, and having space to do that is important. So the next thing, do all of your scratch work and your thinking and reflecting and deciding in this adventure journal. When you hit something and you realize something like, oh man, I really should have done such and such, make a note to yourself about that. Remember that the process of writing your Math IA is going on the adventure first, exploring things, then writing a book about the adventure that you went on. Maybe when you hit major realizations, you can use post-it notes or some other method for noting what pages you find those things on. And you're probably not going to use like 30 pages in this journal, but you might scratch things out. When you don't like something, you go to the next page, or when something doesn't work, you put like a no at the top and you move to the next page. You want to use post-its when you hit the good spots that you really want to be able to write about. The idea is when you're in this adventure journal and you've been adventuring and going on and doing things and writing things down, once you've explored enough, hopefully you'll notice some patterns or connections to your aim. When those things start to come together, it may be time to start thinking about writing your exploration. So next is writing the book, right? So how do we go about writing this thing? So you've completed most of your exploration. Now it's time to start writing your story and getting it ready to be published. Okay. My advice in terms of the process for writing the book, writing your IA, would be to start by putting the semi-final form, the near final form of your aim into precise words, like really give it words. Next, you should build an outline that uses the key findings of your adventure, of the exploring that you did. And once you have an outline, you can use that outline to help you identify the sections and subsections of your work. So you've explored, you've come up with a lot of neat ideas, you've noticed some things, you've found some patterns, you've got a thought of what you want to do, you've written your aim. Now you're like, okay, well, I would do this first, and then I would do this, and then I have another section about this. You're kind of envisioning this paper. Once you've got that outline, you can go through and write the body of the work. You fill in parts of those sections as subsections. You make connections between them. You make connections back to your aim. Then, once the body of your work is finished, like you've got most of the thing together, then you go back. Make sure your aim is appropriate. Make sure that what your semi-final form was still fits and works. If you need to adjust it, you adjust it a little bit more. And then you write the introduction to the paper that introduces what you just wrote, and you write the conclusion that concludes what you just wrote. Okay, so again, you sort of take the things that you wrote, the ideas that you had, you build those into kind of the body, and then go back and do the aim, then the introduction, and the conclusion. It's a little bit of a weird ordering, but I think it really makes the most sense in terms of what you're trying to do. The next part is about publishing the book, right? Okay, so you finish writing all the words, but is that book ready to be published and like sent out to readers? Probably not. Like, no one writes a book and then it's like, oh, whew, got the last word done. Let's send this thing out to be printed. No way. What you really want to do is you want to wait a day or two to let your brain rest, let your brain reset, and then read through your paper and check for readability. Make sure that it reads the way that you thought it did. You might read it and be like, oh man, that's kind of a mess. That's fine. You edit it. Um, After that, you should read through your paper again with a rubric in mind. And here's where the book analogy falls apart here. You've got a rubric. You're going to be scored on this thing, right? If you have the time, I would actually recommend that you read through it once for each criterion. So read through it for presentation, then for math communication, then for personal engagement, then for reflection, then for use of mathematics. Each time you read it, it'll be faster and faster, but you'll be able to read with a different focus each time. Um, Once you've done that, once you've done those edits, once you've done all of those things, then you're ready to submit your work for publication. And I think it's really important that you remember to be proud of yourself. Writing a math paper, particularly a first math paper, is really, really, really challenging. And so, regardless of how good it is, you should be proud of yourself for getting to that point. So I hope that this sort of like extended metaphor about the idea of a math IA being about an exploration and an adventure journal and writing a book is helpful to you as you think about how to build this thing. So best of luck. Let me know if you got any questions.